You're going to want to catch this story only right here and right now. Blessings to you, Margaret. Right here and right now, tell your friends to get on this live stream. I'm going to probably take about 30 minutes here, maybe, maybe not. Now, I'm going to prelude. I'm going to ask you some hard questions. Has President Trump already not declared himself that Canada ought to be the 51st state of the Union? Has not Trump declared that the acquisition of Greenland would improve American national security? And isn't Kristi Noem, DHS secretary, behind the conquest of Greenland out of the hands of the Danish government? And has not Trump already promised to invade Mexico and get rid of their drug cartels? I'm going to tell you what this is before I answer the question, which you know the answer to the question. Venezuela is one of the few nations left that are not tied to a central banking system. Blessings to you, Brandon. So if Venezuela is not yet tied to a central banking system, neither is Iran, neither is Cuba, and neither are a couple of other. Oh, North Korea is not, and a couple, maybe some other nations that they call. That's what when I taught business management and I taught economics. That's what they always called a rogue nation when I taught it. I taught bachelor's courses in economics. Yes, I did. And business management. And it was always what they mean by rogue nation is isolationist. It's a nation that is not tied to a central banking system. Now, isn't it kind of funny that Trump has stolen the oil from Venezuela and have blocked China vessels from getting into their own oil that they already have purchased? And they're going to call that a national security issue. Only national security is you're not going to have fuel for a good part of the winter. A nice little January surprise might occur. We are in this Gregorian year of 2026, but the real new year doesn't start until Abib, which is March to April, part of March, part of April, according to the Hebrew calendar. And that's what I need to do better going by that, but I know it's true. Anyway, so now, Revelation 6:2, White Horse Conqueror, conquering the world by fear. I have not declared Trump to be the Antichrist, but this man is destroying wonderfully, as it says in the book of Daniel. This man is conquering with the bow of toxin. The Greek word toxin for the poison bow was in your 19 Vax, if I can say it that way, or your C19 Vax. That is a bow, a conquering bow of fear. But that, to me, that is not a precursor to the mark of the beast, but a component of the mark of the beast. So let's go back to Trump. If he said all these things about Canada being the 51st state, adding Greenland, taking Greenland, conquering other nations, and all the other things about wanting to fight drug cartels all over the world, and having expressed in an agreement with Europe that they would all split the proceeds of the conquest of Ukraine and Russia to get the oil resources and such. I have a question to you. What makes you think Trump himself doesn't want to be president of Venezuela? I've got another gem for you right now. Do you remember around the time of Hurricane Harvey, the detainment of migrants in Brownsville, Texas, around 2017, they were doing a separation of men, women, and children, and then divided up boys and girls. You got four groups that they divided it into. A Texas state senator, a Democratic Texas state senator went into a frenzy over what is happening. But this was during Trump's first term, which lasted from 2017 to 2021, January. And there was a video that showed there was a poster of Trump above the front door of the compound, overshadowing all of the migrants who were trapped and separated. And that was the receiving room. We don't really know the torture and the things that happened. But Trump is a white Aryan supremacist. You ought to know that by now. This is ethnic cleansing, like the Israelis used the IDF to rough up Palestinians who will not just give up their land and just let them kill them or just lay down and die. Well, ICE is no different than your IDF. ICE is no different than your IDF. They're also brutalizers. They'll go after. They'll spray mace on babies and children. They'll throw a pregnant woman to the ground. And these are Republicans who are going to call themselves pro-life. Oh, so it's only okay to kill browns, blacks, yellows, whatever you want to say, pinks, according to skin color. Check out your heart. The White Horse Conqueror, the Greek word toxin, Toxon. Look it up in the Strongs. The poison arrow, conquering the world through fear. The COVID-19 was fear. And now, Donald J. Trump's conquest is another form of fear. His internal genocide, ethnic cleansing, is another element of fear. Taking away SNAP food programs and programs for housing and rehousing is another form of fear. Trump is creating chaos and fear in the hearts and minds of millions of Americans through fear. And the second most favorite author of Donald J. Trump is Albert Pike. Albert Pike was Trump's second favorite beside Hitler. But Albert Pike invented Hitler. And Albert Pike wrote to Albert Mazzini, I think is Albert, it was a Mazzini. A guy named Mazzini. 3 world wars. The third war said that we would have a Middle East war. Then in the Second World War, he planned a Bolshevik revolution, which would overthrow Russia and destroy its economy. That's happened. But now the Third World War in the Middle East would involve Iran. It would involve Muslims versus Jews. You can find that 3 world wars on the internet right now on an online Google search or any other engine search. So it would be the Muslims versus the Jews, the Christians versus the nihilists. Now I'm going to tell you something. Most 90% of church Christians or more, and I'm being kind, 90% of American Christians who go to churches already are nihilists because they don't give a crap about everything surrounding them that they don't want to be aware of. Oh, the economy will collapse. I'll go on sinning and God will give me grace. Yahuwah will give you no grace. You already fell into the net when your church pastors did not warn your sheep about the C-19 which started in 2020, late in 2019. And so you've already been conquered by fear. If you don't go to the doctor, I'm going to die. That's an element of fear. I ain't been to the doctor since 2018. Yeah, I got this bad leg, but I'm going to let myself continue to feel the pain of my leg, and I'm not going to a doctor. I am America's John Rambo. I am he, but I am also more so a witness and the testimony of the healing power of Yahushua Messiah to cause me to lose over 200 pounds from 2018 to 2019. So I could stand to you for these times and I could sojourn. I am in this year when I arrived in Washington State, I entered the 34th state I've been in since 2018 with the gospel after the weight loss. I even faintly tried to get back into the accounting profession and even considered for another run for a PhD. He ain't letting it happen. The times are at an end. If Trump continues to conquer and all these other presidents just surrender to him, what if Claudia Scheinbaum or whatever surrenders? She's a Jew. She's a Jew. She's not even a Mexican. She's married to a Mexican, but she's a Jew. What if it's been in the plans for Scheinbaum? You ought to read about how she got in. Like over 30 people who were running for president of Mexico ahead of her were just knocked off. They just all died. Boom, 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 one by one. Who do you think did that? You not think the IDF and the Mossad are in this country? I see them, and I even see that some of, like in the Calvary chapels and in the Southern Baptist and in a lot of the others, a lot of your evangelical pastors are in the Mossad. You better take note of it because I witness things that you don't see. I am boots on the ground for the gospel of Christ, and I'm trying to preach the gospel to the poor, to the homeless, and trying to help the homeless. But I'm also warning you on Substack, and this is going to go on YouTube. I need to start putting my YouTube channel on after every video, and I'll go back to the last few to do so. But understand, Trump is very likely going to start declaring himself president of all these countries, Venezuela, Greenland, Canada, everything he wants. And I'm going to tell you, I have not declared him to be the Antichrist because I've not seen all the things happen because the tribulation hasn't begun yet. You don't know who the Antichrist is until the tribulation begins. If you think you've been in the tribulation, I can promise you, I wouldn't survive what I've survived if I had to still be out here and not be in the wilderness to be one of the 144 or one of the righteous 60 out of the apocalypse of Elijah. So I know the real tribulation hadn't begun. There is no pre-tribulation rapture. You're going through something unless you die of martyrdom. And a lot of indications are a lot of you are still too afraid to stick your neck out for the gospel to the streets, to hand a homeless person or to hand a homeless people a fresh, hot meal. Or give them something clean to drink, clean water. Give them, give them orange juice or grapefruit or produce or something healthy for them. I don't see a lot of you asking for prayer about that, but pray for these homeless people everywhere you see them. Do not look at them and say, I got a drug addict. Don't look at them and say, I have a pedophile. The pedophiles are in your government. And the ones on the streets likely could have been in the pedo rings, but they wanted out, and now this is where they end up until they return to work. Most of your jobs are based on pedophilia. You ain't seen it yet. You need to listen up. Will Trump want to become president of Venezuela? I believe he's going to start to declare him. If he gets to continue to do this, then I'll be convinced he's the Antichrist. But if somehow he gets wiped out and he doesn't, the deadly head wound doesn't get healed, I know who the next one in line is, and he's in Texas. But we'll see what this clown Trump continues to do. Obviously, if a 34 count pedophile, rapist, serial rapist, and he's raped many more, he had to have murdered his first wife, Ivanka. You know, if he keeps on getting to do all this, and he ain't going to jail for nothing, I already told you long ago, the Antichrist is not going to jail for anything he does. And that's what this guy is doing right here. He'll start to declare himself president of the world. And since we're not in the tribulation yet, we haven't gone through the region changes. We haven't seen the 144 appear. We don't see two witnesses. We don't see the migration, the mass exodus that is talked about in Revelation 12. The dragon chasing after the woman to flee into the wilderness. And only you would read about what's in 3rd John about the woman is the elect lady, is the body of Christ, Yahusha. I don't mind saying Christ, but I don't like saying Jesus. Look at your churches and you'll find out why. Makes me sick and makes me vomit more and more every day. That's why I say Yahusha. It's more like his real name. And the English equivalent is not Jesus, but Joshua. That matches the Hebrew. And it matches his original name as Hosea. That's in Numbers chapter 8. Joshua was first known as Hosea. Go look it up. You still have access to the internet, and the resources, to my understanding, are still accurate. That's why I give you a mix of world events and biblical prophecy so that you'll know how to track everything as you move along. People are declaring Trump to be the Antichrist too early. I had to back away from it because I don't see him fulfilling everything that's in it. And when I see all that, then if he's the one they present in Jerusalem to dedicate the temple sacrifice, then I will be convinced. But not yet. And that's to say there is no pre-tribulation rapture. You will endure to the end and be saved, or you'll be damned. This is not no once saved, always saved. If you don't like what I say about once saved, always saved, you're not gonna like being on here because you're gonna have to endure and you're gonna be tested. You're not gonna be pampered with Rosicrucian, skull and bones, Rokai medication that came from the pharmacy pharmakia. You're not going to be coddled in the tribulation with any of this. And if you are, I'm going to let you know you're sucking human blood when you're taking these prescription medications. There are blood plasma in it, nanoparticles, petroleum as a base for massive electroconductive power and delivering to the cells in your body. Without the petroleum, your medication would not work. And Rockefeller knew that. First, he founded the University of Chicago in the 1800s. Then, in the early 1900s, right about the time of the Federal Reserve Act of 1911, pretty much close to the time, a little bit afterwards, somehow he started going after the petroleum fields and starting Standard Oil and did you all not know that Rockefeller was a Baptist? And the Rockefellers today, including Nelson Rockefeller, are still tied to the Southern Baptist. Oh, and Mark Dever and Nelson Rockefeller, Mark Dever of the Nine Marks, you think are good churches? They are churches of Satan. And I have personal dealings, and I'm going to tell you, I do have an axe to grind. Nelson Rockefeller and Mark Dever are very good business partners and friends. You don't even know who you're dealing with when you deal with these big pastors. Mark Dever lives in a multi-million-dollar house in Northern Virginia while his members struggle to pay rent in Midtown Washington, D.C., or maybe some outskirt apartment. And back then, when I last visited, in depth in 2009, rent was already $2,500 for just a townhouse. Imagine what it is now. I'm 61 years old. I don't want to make it to 62. My leg hurts. I'm disabled, but I've got to keep on moving along. Please restack this and warn your friends that if the financial collapse is going to happen, it's going to happen worldwide. All the crescendo of events is going to happen all together at once. A lot of you who listen to others, well, you will have been able to gather that much. Financial collapse, mass death, and then that's the second seal is killing and being killed. That's internal revolution. That's war worldwide. That matches Matthew 24 about wars and rumors of wars. But he said, not yet. And then when they say there is the Christ, lo is the Christ, he's warning you against believing in a pre-tribulation rapture, that he is here now and you can go up with him right now. You ought to know how he's going to return. So watch out. Don't believe in the pre-tribulation rapture, lest according to 2 Timothy 2:18, that your faith, you will say that the resurrection is past and your faith will be thrown overboard. These are scriptures that will sure let you know there is no pre-tribulation rapture. And I hope I talk a little fast because my jaw is hurting. I want to get that in. Mark the verse 2 Timothy 2:18, that because many have said the resurrection is past, the faith of many have been overthrown, shipwrecked. Then in Matthew 24, when they say, lo, here is the Christ, there is the Christ, they say he's going to come and get his bride at the beginning of the tribulation. False. Why are people in Revelation 13 being martyred? Why in Revelation 12 did the woman flee to the wilderness and will be provided for 1,260 days? The 1,260 days of the two witnesses and the fleeing of the woman in the wilderness have not begun. So you have a long way to go. I've been in this for 35 years or more. Since 1989, I have been a believer. And I've not been perfect, but we are being made perfect. You don't believe your church friends who tell you, I don't have to be perfect. You ought to want to be, and you ought to be in the process of being made perfect. Isaac Joseph, Benjamin Bedouin, MYDYR, a true martyr for the true Messiah, Yahusha. Please restack this. I'm going to try to put out a screenshot video of why the original English Hebrew name was supposed to be Joshua, Yahusha. You're going to want to watch this from a scholar's point. And if you want to do a little prelude to it, just take the Greek word Jesus, go into Blue Letter Bible, and then they have a part on the page under the Greek word what they call Jesus, and then you take the LXX entries, the Old Testament Greek, and you'll start to find Joshua, Yeshua, all that. It's all in there. Do your research. Blessings, and thank you, Brandon, and thank you. I forgot the other one. I can't scroll up right now for some reason. But thank you. I recognize both of you for being here. Blessings to you. Restack it. Share it when it gets released. It's going to go on YouTube. I'm going to put the YouTube channel when it comes up on YouTube. And I need to go back and do the others. Shalom, signing out.